Story Part 1. Maya. Rodriguez had always believed that small acts of kindness could change the world, but she never imagined they could change her own life so dramatically. As a single mother of 2 young children, she worked double shifts at the local diner in downtown Phoenix, struggling to make ends meet while pursuing her nursing degree through online classes late at night. The morning of March 15th started like any other. Maya's alarm buzzed at 5:30 a.m., and she quietly prepared breakfast for her 7-year-old daughter Sophia and 5-year-old son Carlos before getting them ready for school. Her tiny apartment was cramped but clean, filled with the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of children's laughter. Despite their financial struggles, Maya had taught her children the importance of gratitude and helping others whenever possible. After dropping the kids at school, Maya hurried to the diner where she had worked for 3 years. The Golden Spoon Diner was a modest establishment that served the working-class neighborhood, frequented by construction workers, elderly regulars, and occasional travelers passing through the city. Maya had built relationships with many of the customers, remembering their usual orders and asking about their families. The breakfast rush was particularly busy that Tuesday morning. Maya moved efficiently between tables, taking orders, serving hot plates of eggs and bacon and refilling coffee cups with her characteristic warm smile. Her uniform was slightly worn, and her shoes had seen better days, but she carried herself with dignity and treated every customer with genuine care. Around 10 a.m., as the morning crowd began to thin out, Maya noticed an elderly man sitting alone in the corner booth. He was probably in his 70s with silver hair and deep lines around his eyes that spoke of both wisdom and hardship. His clothes were clean but clearly second-hand, and he sat staring out the window with a distant expression. Maya approached his table with her notepad ready. "Good morning, sir. What can I get started for you today?" she asked with her usual friendly demeanor. The man looked up at her with tired eyes. "Just coffee, please. Black coffee." His voice was quiet, almost apologetic. Maya noticed his hands trembling slightly as he reached for the menu. Though he didn't actually look at it, something in his manner told her he was struggling with more than just deciding what to eat. She had seen this look before in customers who were counting every penny. "Are you sure that's all? Our breakfast special is really good today. 2 eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast for just $8. Maya offered gently. The man shook his head. "No, thank you. Just the coffee." Maya poured his coffee and couldn't shake the feeling that he needed more than caffeine. She had developed an intuition about people during her years at the diner, and everything about this man suggested he was going through a difficult time. His clothes hung loosely on his frame, indicating recent weight loss, and there was a loneliness in his eyes that touched her heart. During her break, Maya found herself thinking about the elderly customer. She had noticed him glance at other tables where families were sharing meals, and the way he made his single cup of coffee last for nearly an hour. When she returned from her break, he was still there, still nursing the same cup. Maya had exactly $12 in her wallet, money she had set aside for Sophia's upcoming field trip. But looking at this man, she made a decision that would set in motion events she could never have predicted. She walked to the kitchen and quietly ordered the breakfast special, paying for it with her own money. She approached his table carrying the full plate. "Excuse me, sir. The kitchen made an extra breakfast by mistake and we can't let it go to waste. Would you mind helping us out by eating it?" The man looked up at her in surprise, his eyes beginning to water. I can't pay for this. It's already taken care of," Maya said softly, setting the plate down in front of him. "Please, it would really help us out." For a moment, the man just stared at the food. Then he looked up at Maya with an expression of deep gratitude. "What's your name, young lady?" "Maya Rodriguez." "Maya," he repeated, as if committing it to memory. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me." As the man ate, Maya noticed tears in his eyes. She checked on him periodically, refilling his coffee and making sure he had everything he needed. He ate slowly, savoring every bite, and when he was finished, he sat quietly for a few more minutes. When he was ready to leave, he approached Maya at the counter. "Maya Rodriguez," he said again. "I want you to know that your kindness today, it reminded me that there are still good people in this world. I was having the darkest day of my life and you showed me light." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a wrinkled business card. "My name is Thomas Chen. If you ever need anything at all, please don't hesitate to call me." Maya looked at the card. It was simple, just his name and phone number, with no company name or title. "Thank you, Mr. Chen. Take care of yourself." The old man smiled for the first time since he had entered the diner. "You too, Maya. You too." After he left, Maya tucked the business card into her apron pocket and forgot about it as the lunch rush began. She had no way of knowing that Thomas Chen was actually Dr. Thomas Chen, a recently retired surgeon who had just lost his wife of 45 years to cancer. He had been sitting in that diner, contemplating whether life was still worth living, when Maya's simple act of kindness reminded him of the goodness that still existed in the world. Maya finished her shift that evening, tired but satisfied with another day's work. She picked up her children from after-school care, helped them with homework, and put them to bed after reading them a story. As she sat down to study for her nursing exam, she pulled the business card from her apron pocket and looked at it again before placing it on her dresser. She had no idea that this simple card would soon become the key to changing her family's entire future. Story Part 2. 3 weeks passed after Maya's encounter with Thomas Chen, and life continued its familiar rhythm of work, study, and caring for her children. The breakfast rush at the Golden Spoon Diner remained as hectic as ever, and Maya threw herself into her routine, serving customers with the same warmth and dedication that had always defined her character. It was a Thursday evening when everything changed. Maya was at home, helping Sophia with her math homework while Carlos played quietly with his toy cars on the living room floor. The apartment was peaceful, filled with the soft hum of the old air conditioning unit and the distant sounds of the city outside their window. Maya's phone rang, displaying an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, thinking it might be a telemarketer, but something made her pick up on the fourth ring. "Hello. Is this Maya Rodriguez?" The voice was familiar, though she couldn't immediately place it. "Yes, this is Maya. Who's calling, please?" "This is Thomas Chen. We met at the diner a few weeks ago. You helped me when I needed it most." Maya's eyes widened as she remembered the elderly gentleman she had bought breakfast for. She had thought about him several times since that day, wondering how he was doing and hoping he was taking care of himself. "Oh, Mr. Chen. Yes, I remember you. How are you doing?" There was a pause on the other end of the line, and when Thomas spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. "Maya, I need you to know that what you did for me that day, it saved my life. Literally saved my life." Maya felt her heart skip a beat. She moved to the kitchen where she could speak more privately. "I don't understand, Mr. Chen. What do you mean?" Thomas took a deep breath before continuing. "The day I came to your diner, I had just lost my wife of 45 years to cancer. I was in the darkest place I'd ever been in my entire life. I was actually on my way to... Well, I was planning to end my own life that day. I had given up hope completely." Maya's hand flew to her mouth in shock. She could hear the pain in his voice, and tears began forming in her eyes. "But then you showed me such unexpected kindness," Thomas continued. "A complete stranger who clearly didn't have much money herself spent her own money to make sure I had a meal. You reminded me that there was still goodness in the world, still people worth living for. Your compassion literally saved my life, Maya." Maya was speechless, overwhelmed by the weight of what she was hearing. She had no idea that her simple gesture had prevented such a tragedy. "Mr. Chen, I'm so sorry for your loss. I had no idea what you were going through that day." "And that's exactly why your kindness meant so much," Thomas replied. "You didn't help me because you knew my situation. You helped me simply because you saw someone who needed help. That's the purest form of compassion I've ever experienced." They talked for nearly an hour. Thomas told Maya about his late wife, Dr. Elena Chen, who had been a pediatric nurse for 30 years before becoming a nursing instructor. He spoke of their life together, their shared commitment to helping others, and how devastated he had been by her passing. Elena always believed that education was the key to breaking cycles of poverty and creating better lives for families, Thomas explained. She established several scholarship programs during her lifetime to help working parents pursue nursing degrees. Maya listened intently, feeling a deep connection to this man's story and his late wife's mission. "Maya, I've been thinking about you every day since we met. I did some research and learned that you're studying to become a nurse while working full-time and raising 2 children alone. That takes incredible strength and determination." Maya felt embarrassed by the attention. "I'm just doing what I have to do for my family, Mr. Chen." "No, Maya, you're doing something extraordinary. and I want to help you if you'll let me." Thomas went on to explain that he had been a successful surgeon for 40 years before retiring, and that he and Elena had been blessed with financial security. They had no children of their own, and Elena's scholarship fund had been their way of creating a lasting legacy. "I'd like to offer you a full scholarship to complete your nursing degree," Thomas said. "I want to cover your tuition, books, and even provide a monthly stipend so you can reduce your work hours and focus on your studies and your children." Maya nearly dropped the phone. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Mr. Chen, I can't accept something like that. It's too much. Maya, please listen to me. You gave me a reason to live when I had none. You restored my faith in humanity with one simple act of kindness. This scholarship isn't charity, it's gratitude. It's my way of honoring both your compassion and my wife's memory." Over the next several minutes, Thomas patiently addressed all of Maya's concerns and objections. He explained that the scholarship would come through Elena's foundation, making it official and legitimate. He assured her that there were no strings attached and no expectations, beyond her completing her nursing degree with the same dedication she had already shown. "I've spoken with the nursing program director at Phoenix Community College," Thomas said. "They've confirmed your excellent grades and attendance record. You're exactly the kind of student Elena would have been proud to support." Maya found herself crying as she listened to Thomas explain the details. The scholarship would cover her remaining 2 years of school completely, plus provide a monthly stipend of $2,000 to help with living expenses. It would allow her to cut back to part-time work at the diner and spend more time with Sophia and Carlos. "There's one condition," Thomas added, and Maya's heart sank, wondering what catch she had missed. "What's the condition?" she asked nervously. Thomas chuckled softly. "You have to promise me that you'll pay it forward someday. When you're a successful nurse and you see someone who needs help, I want you to remember this moment and find a way to help them." Maya was sobbing now, overwhelmed by the generosity and the profound impact of what seemed like such a small gesture 3 weeks ago. "I promise. Mr. Chen, I promise I'll pay it forward, but I still can't believe this is real." "It's real, Maya, and you deserve it. Your kindness changed my life, and now I want to change yours." As Maya hung up the phone, she realized that her simple act of buying breakfast for a lonely stranger had set in motion events that would transform her family's future forever. Story Part 3. The weeks following Thomas Chen's phone call felt like a dream to Maya. She found herself constantly checking and rechecking the scholarship paperwork, afraid that somehow it would all disappear. But everything was legitimate and real. The Elena Chen Memorial Scholarship had officially accepted her as its newest recipient, and Maya's life was about to change in ways she had never imagined possible. The first major change came when Maya was able to reduce her hours at the Golden Spoon Diner from 6 days a week to just 3. For the first time in years, she could pick up Sophia and Carlos from school herself, instead of relying on after-school care. The extra time with her children was precious beyond measure. "Mama, why are you home so early?" Carlos asked on her first day of the new schedule, running to hug her legs as she walked through the door. "Because I get to spend more time with you and your sister now," Maya explained, lifting him up and spinning him around. "We can do homework together, cook dinner together, and maybe even go to the park sometimes." Sophia, ever the perceptive older child, looked up from her backpack with curious eyes. "Did you get a new job, Mama?" Maya sat down on the couch and pulled both children close to her. She had been thinking about how to explain the scholarship to them in a way they could understand. "Remember the nice man I told you about at the diner? The one who was very sad?" Both children nodded. "Well, he was so thankful for the kindness we showed him that he decided to help our family. He's paying for Mama to finish school so I can become a nurse and take better care of people who are sick." Sophia's eyes lit up. "So you helped him and now he's helping us?" "Exactly, sweetheart. It's called paying it forward. When someone does something nice for you, you try to do something nice for someone else." This concept resonated deeply with both children, and Maya could see them processing the lesson. She was proud that they were learning firsthand about the power of compassion and how kindness could create a ripple effect. With her reduced work schedule, Maya was able to fully immerse herself in her nursing studies. She had always been a dedicated student, but now she could attend study groups, participate in lab sessions during normal hours, and even accept an internship opportunity at Phoenix General Hospital that she previously couldn't consider due to her work obligations. The internship proved to be transformative. Maya worked alongside experienced nurses in the oncology ward, where she learned not just medical procedures and protocols, but also how to provide emotional support to patients and families facing life-threatening illnesses. The work was challenging and sometimes heartbreaking, but Maya found herself naturally gifted at connecting with patients and providing comfort during their most difficult moments. One particular patient, Mrs. Patricia Williams, a 68-year-old grandmother undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer, became especially close to Maya. Mrs. Williams reminded Maya of her own grandmother, who had passed away when Maya was in high school. "You have healing hands, dear," Mrs. Williams told Maya during one of their sessions. "But more than that, you have a healing heart. These old bones can tell when someone truly cares, and you do." Maya's nursing supervisor, Jennifer Martinez, noticed her exceptional bedside manner and technical skills. During Maya's mid-semester evaluation, Jennifer pulled her aside for a private conversation. "Maya, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I rarely see someone with your natural ability to connect with patients while maintaining such high clinical standards," Jennifer said. "Have you thought about specializing in oncology nursing after graduation?" Maya felt a surge of pride and excitement. She had been drawn to oncology during her internship, feeling a special calling to help patients and families navigate some of the most challenging experiences of their lives. "I've definitely been considering it. The work is difficult, but it feels meaningful in a way I never expected. There's a fellowship program at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston that I think you'd be perfect for," Jennifer continued. "It's highly competitive, but with your grades and the recommendations I've seen from your clinical rotations, I think you'd have a real chance. Would you be interested in learning more about it?" Maya's heart raced. MD Anderson was one of the most prestigious cancer treatment centers in the country. The opportunity to train there would open doors she had never even dared to dream about. But Houston was far from Phoenix, and she would have to consider the impact on Sophia and Carlos. That evening, Maya called Thomas Chen to share her exciting news and seek his advice. Over the months since their first conversation, Thomas had become something of a mentor and father figure to her. They spoke regularly, and he often checked on her progress and offered encouragement during challenging times. "Maya, that's wonderful news," Thomas exclaimed when she told him about the fellowship opportunity. "Elena would be so proud to know that her scholarship recipient is being considered for such a prestigious program." "But I'm worried about moving the kids," Maya confessed. "They've been through so much change already, and Sophia has finally settled into her school here." Thomas was quiet for a moment before responding. "Maya, sometimes the biggest opportunities require the biggest leaps of faith. Your children are resilient just like their mother. They've watched you pursue your dreams while taking care of them, and they've learned that hard work and education can open doors to a better life." He paused, then continued with warmth in his voice. "Besides, if you're accepted to the fellowship, I'd be more than happy to help with relocation expenses and getting settled in Houston. This scholarship was never just about getting you through nursing school. It was about giving you and your children the best possible future." Maya felt tears of gratitude forming in her eyes once again. Thomas's generosity seemed boundless, but more than that, his faith in her abilities gave her the confidence to reach for opportunities she might otherwise have thought were beyond her grasp. "There's something else," Thomas added. "I've been thinking about visiting Phoenix next month. I'd love to meet Sophia and Carlos in person, if you're comfortable with that. I feel like they're part of my extended family now." The idea of introducing Thomas to her children filled Maya with joy. He had become such an important part of their story, and she knew the children would love to meet the kind man who had helped change their lives. As Maya ended the call and looked in on her sleeping children, she marveled at how dramatically their lives had changed since that morning in March when she had bought breakfast for a lonely stranger. The scholarship had given her family financial stability and educational opportunities, but even more importantly, it had connected them with someone who had become a treasured friend and mentor. Maya knew that whatever decision she made about the fellowship, her family was now on a path toward a brighter future than she had ever imagined possible. Story Part 4: Thomas Chen's visit to Phoenix in November was a milestone that none of them had anticipated. Maya felt nervous as she prepared her small apartment for his arrival, wanting everything to be perfect for the man who had changed their lives so dramatically. Sophia and Carlos had helped her clean and even made welcome signs with colorful markers. Excited to finally meet their scholarship angel, as they had begun calling him. When Thomas arrived at their door, carrying a bouquet of flowers for Maya and wrapped gifts for the children, the meeting was emotional and heartwarming. Despite being in his 70s, Thomas had a youthful energy and immediately connected with Sophia and Carlos, asking about their favorite subjects in school and listening intently to their answers. "Mr. Chen," Sophia said shyly, "Mama told us you were very sad when she met you, but you don't look sad now." Thomas smiled gently and knelt down to her level. "That's because your mama helped me remember that there's always something to be happy about, especially when you meet wonderful people like your family." During his 3-day visit, Thomas insisted on taking them out for meals and activities they couldn't normally afford. They visited the Phoenix Zoo, went to a children's museum, and enjoyed dinner at a nice restaurant where Sophia and Carlos practiced their best table manners. But the most meaningful moments came during quiet conversations in Maya's living room after the children went to bed. "Maya, I want you to know that meeting your children has confirmed everything I believed about you," Thomas said on his last evening. "They're polite, curious, kind children who clearly adore their mother. You've done an amazing job raising them under difficult circumstances." Maya felt proud but also vulnerable, sharing her family's daily life with Thomas. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough for them. Working and studying so much meant I missed some school events and couldn't always help with homework the way I wanted to." "Look at them, Maya. Really look at them," Thomas said. "They're confident, happy children who have learned important life lessons from watching their mother pursue her dreams. That's worth more than being at every school event." The conversation turned to Maya's application for the MD Anderson Fellowship. She had submitted all the required materials the previous month, and the selection committee would be conducting interviews in January. Maya had been preparing extensively, but she still felt overwhelmed by the possibility of competing against candidates from much more privileged backgrounds. "I keep thinking about all the other applicants," Maya confessed. "They probably went to prestigious universities and had research opportunities I never had access to. How can I compete with that?" Thomas leaned forward, his expression serious but encouraging. "Maya, you have something that can't be taught in any university or research lab. You have real compassion, genuine empathy, and the ability to connect with people during their most vulnerable moments. Your patients at the hospital have told me as much." Maya looked surprised. "You spoke to my patients?" Thomas smiled. "I may have visited the oncology ward and asked a few questions about the nursing intern who had been taking such good care of everyone. Mrs. Williams couldn't stop talking about how you made her feel safe during her treatments. That's not something you can learn from a textbook." The validation from her patients, filtered through Thomas's perspective, gave Maya a new sense of confidence about her abilities and her potential as a nurse. Before leaving Phoenix, Thomas had one more surprise for Maya. He had arranged to meet with her nursing program director and clinical supervisor to discuss her progress and future opportunities. The meeting took place at the college, and Maya was invited to participate in what she thought would be a routine evaluation. "Miss Rodriguez," the program director began, "Mr. Chen has shared with us the unique circumstances of your scholarship and wanted to hear about your academic and clinical performance." What followed was a glowing review of Maya's work from her instructors and supervisors. They praised her academic excellence, her natural clinical skills, and especially her ability to provide compassionate care to patients and families. "I've rarely seen a student with Maya's combination of technical competence and emotional intelligence," Jennifer Martinez added. "She has the potential to be an exceptional oncology nurse." Thomas listened intently to every word, asking thoughtful questions about Maya's strengths and areas for continued growth. At the end of the meeting, he surprised everyone by announcing additional support for Maya's education. "I would like to establish an emergency fund for Maya and any future scholarship recipients," Thomas said. "Sometimes unexpected expenses or opportunities arise during studies, and students shouldn't have to choose between financial stability and educational advancement." Maya was speechless. The original scholarship had already transformed her life, and now Thomas was ensuring that nothing could derail her progress toward graduation and beyond. Later that day, as Maya walked Thomas to his rental car for his trip to the airport, he pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. "This contains a letter of recommendation for your fellowship application," he said. I reached out to a colleague from my surgical days who now serves on the medical advisory board at MD Anderson. He agreed to review your application materials and provide additional support if he believes you're a strong candidate. Maya stared at the envelope, overwhelmed once again by Thomas's generosity and faith in her abilities. I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for us. You don't need to thank me, Maya. You saved my life, and now I'm simply trying to make sure you have every opportunity to save others. That's how the circle of compassion works. As Thomas's plane disappeared into the desert sky, Maya reflected on how much had changed since their first meeting at the diner. What had started as a simple act of kindness had blossomed into a deep friendship and mentorship that was shaping her family's entire future. The fellowship application deadline was approaching, and Maya felt more prepared and confident than ever before. She had the academic credentials, the clinical experience, and now the professional connections to compete for one of the most sought-after positions in nursing. But more importantly, she had the unwavering support of someone who believed in her potential and was committed to helping her achieve her dreams. That evening, as she tucked Sophia and Carlos into bed, Sophia asked, "Mama, is Mr. Chen part of our family now?" Maya smiled as she considered the question. "In the best possible way, sweetheart. He's family that we chose and who chose us back." The concept of chosen family resonated with Maya as she prepared for the next phase of her journey. Whatever happened with the fellowship, she knew that the compassion that had started this entire chain of events would continue to guide her decisions and her career in nursing. Story Part 5 January brought the fellowship interviews at MD Anderson Cancer Center, and Maya found herself on a plane to Houston with a mixture of excitement and nervousness coursing through her veins. It was her first time flying, and as she looked down at the landscape below, she marveled at how far she had come from that morning nearly a year ago when she had bought breakfast for a stranger. The interview process was intensive, spanning 2 full days with multiple rounds of meetings with department heads, current fellows, and senior nursing staff. Maya was one of 24 candidates competing for just 6 fellowship positions, and the competition was as fierce as she had expected. During the first day, Maya met her fellow candidates during a group orientation session. As she had anticipated, many of them came from prestigious nursing programs and had impressive research backgrounds. Sarah Chen, a graduate from Johns Hopkins, had already published 3 research papers. Michael Torres from Duke University had worked on groundbreaking cancer treatment protocols. Lisa Wang from University of California, San Francisco, had led a quality improvement initiative that had been implemented nationwide. Despite her initial intimidation, Maya quickly realized that her own background brought unique value to the group. When the candidates were asked to share their experiences with patient care, Maya's stories from the oncology ward resonated powerfully with the interview panel. "I had a patient, Mrs. Williams, who was terrified of her chemotherapy treatments," Maya shared during a group discussion. She had seen too many movies where cancer treatment was portrayed as a horrific experience. "I spent extra time with her before each session, explaining exactly what would happen and staying with her until she felt comfortable. By her 3rd treatment, she told me that I had transformed her experience from something she dreaded into something she could manage with dignity." Dr. Amanda Foster, the fellowship director, leaned forward with interest. "How did you know to take that approach with Mrs. Williams?" Maya thought carefully before answering. "I think it came from my own experiences as a single mother in challenging situations. I know what it feels like to be scared and uncertain about the future. When I see that fear in a patient's eyes, I recognize it immediately, and I want to do everything I can to help them feel safe and supported." The panel members exchanged glances, and Maya could sense that her answer had made an impact. Her authenticity and genuine empathy were qualities that couldn't be faked or learned from textbooks. The individual interviews were equally challenging. Maya met with department heads who asked detailed questions about her clinical knowledge, her career goals, and her understanding of the latest developments in oncology nursing. She was grateful for all the extra studying she had done and for Jennifer Martinez's mentorship in preparing for these conversations. Dr. Robert Kim, the chief of nursing, asked Maya a particularly thought-provoking question. "Tell me about a time when you had to advocate for a patient against resistance from other healthcare providers." Maya recalled a situation from her internship where she had noticed concerning symptoms in a post-operative patient that the residents had initially dismissed. She had persisted in documenting her observations and requesting additional evaluation, ultimately leading to the early detection of a serious complication. "I learned that being a patient advocate sometimes means being uncomfortable," Maya explained. "It means speaking up even when you're the most junior person in the room, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons." Dr. Kim nodded approvingly. "That's exactly the kind of critical thinking and patient advocacy we need in our fellows." The most meaningful conversation came during Maya's meeting with Dr. Elizabeth Santos, a senior oncology nurse who had worked at MD Anderson for over 20 years. Dr. Santos had a reputation for being tough but fair, and Maya had been nervous about their one-on-one session. "I've reviewed your application materials, Maya," Dr. Santos began, "and I'm particularly interested in your scholarship story. Tell me about this Thomas Chen and how you ended up here." Maya shared the full story, from her initial meeting with Thomas at the diner to his ongoing mentorship and support. She spoke about the profound impact that one act of kindness had created and how it had changed both their lives. "What strikes me most about your story," Dr. Santos said when Maya finished, "is that your compassion toward Thomas wasn't calculated or strategic. You helped him simply because you saw someone who needed help. That kind of genuine empathy is rare and precious in healthcare." Dr. Santos went on to share some of her own experiences with patients and families, describing the emotional challenges of oncology nursing and the importance of maintaining hope even in the face of terminal diagnoses. "This field will test your resilience in ways you can't imagine yet," she warned. "You'll lose patients you've grown to care about. You'll see families destroyed by grief. You'll question whether you're making any difference at all. What will sustain you through those dark moments?" Maya considered the question seriously. "I think what will sustain me is remembering that every patient is someone's Thomas Chen. They're all human beings who deserve to be treated with dignity and compassion, regardless of their diagnosis or prognosis. If I can help even one person feel less alone or more hopeful during their treatment, then I'm making a difference." Dr. Santos smiled for the first time during their conversation. That's exactly the right answer. On the final day of interviews, Maya had the opportunity to shadow current fellows and observe patient care rounds. She was impressed by the level of expertise and collaboration among the nursing staff, and she could envision herself thriving in such an environment. During lunch with the current fellows, Maya asked about their experiences and what advice they would give to new candidates. "The technical skills you can learn," explained Jennifer Brooks, a second-year fellow. "What you can't learn is how to genuinely connect with people during the worst moments of their lives. From what I observed today, you already have that gift." As Maya flew back to Phoenix that evening, she felt confident that she had represented herself well during the interviews. Regardless of the outcome, the experience had shown her that she belonged in elite medical institutions and could hold her own alongside candidates from the most prestigious programs. The fellowship directors had informed all candidates that decisions would be announced within 2 weeks. Maya tried to focus on her remaining coursework and her responsibilities at the hospital, but she found herself checking her email constantly for news. Thomas called her the evening after she returned from Houston, eager to hear about her experience. "I'm proud of you no matter what happens," he said after she described the interview process. "You represented yourself, your family, and Elena's scholarship beautifully. That's all anyone can ask for." 2 weeks later, on a quiet Tuesday morning while Maya was studying in the hospital library during a break between clinical rotations, her phone buzzed with an email notification. The sender was Dr. Amanda Foster from MD Anderson Cancer Center. Maya's heart raced as she opened the message. She read the first line 3 times before the words fully sank in. "Congratulations, Maya. We are pleased to offer you a position in the MD Anderson Cancer Center Nursing Fellowship Program." She had done it. Against all odds, the single mother who had been working double shifts at a diner just over a year ago had earned a fellowship at one of the most prestigious cancer centers in the world. Maya called Thomas immediately, her voice shaking with excitement and emotion. "Thomas, I got it. I got the fellowship." There was silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment Maya worried that the call had been dropped. Then she heard Thomas crying softly. "Elena would be so proud," he whispered. "So very proud." Story Part 6. 5 years had passed since Maya Rodriguez first walked through the doors of MD Anderson Cancer Center as a nervous fellowship candidate. Now as senior nurse specialist in the pediatric oncology unit, she stood in the same hallway where she had once interviewed, preparing to welcome the newest group of nursing fellows to their orientation. The transformation in Maya's life had been remarkable. After completing her fellowship, she had been offered a permanent position at MD Anderson, where she quickly distinguished herself as an exceptional clinician and compassionate caregiver. Her natural ability to connect with young patients and their families had made her an invaluable member of the pediatric team. Sophia, now 13, and Carlos, 11, had adapted beautifully to life in Houston. Sophia was thriving in advanced mathematics classes and had joined the debate team, while Carlos had discovered a passion for soccer and science. Both children had grown up understanding that their mother's work involved helping sick children, and they took pride in her dedication to making a difference in the lives of others. Thomas Chen had kept his promise to remain a constant presence in their lives. Now 78 years old, he had moved to Houston 2 years earlier to be closer to his chosen family. The children called him Grandpa Thomas, and he had become an integral part of their daily routines, picking them up from school when Maya worked late shifts and attending their school events as a proud surrogate grandfather. The Elena Chen Memorial Scholarship had grown significantly under Thomas's leadership. What had started as a single scholarship for Maya had evolved into a comprehensive program supporting 12 nursing students annually across several universities. Maya served on the selection committee, helping to identify candidates who demonstrated both academic potential and genuine compassion. On this particular morning in September, Maya was preparing for a very special visitor. Among the new group of nursing fellows was Rebecca Thompson, a young woman whose story had immediately reminded Maya of her own journey. Rebecca was a single mother from rural Texas who had worked as a certified nursing assistant while completing her nursing degree through online programs and evening classes. As Maya reviewed Rebecca's application materials in her office, she was struck by the parallels to her own experience 5 years earlier. Rebecca had written about a moment when she had stayed late with an elderly patient who had no family visitors, holding his hand during his final hours. That act of compassion had inspired her to pursue advanced training in oncology nursing, despite the financial and logistical challenges she faced as a single parent. Maya had advocated strongly for Rebecca's acceptance into the fellowship program, seeing in her the same combination of clinical competence and genuine empathy that had carried Maya through her own training. The orientation session began with Dr. Amanda Foster, who was now a close colleague and friend to Maya, introducing the 6 new fellows to the program. As Maya listened to each fellow introduce themselves, she remembered her own nervousness during that first day and how far she had come since then. When Rebecca's turn came to speak, Maya watched with interest as the young woman shared her background and aspirations. Like Maya 5 years earlier, Rebecca seemed somewhat intimidated by her accomplished fellow candidates, but her passion for patient care was evident in every word she spoke. After the formal orientation, Maya approached Rebecca during the coffee break. "Rebecca, I'm Maya Rodriguez. I wanted to introduce myself and welcome you to the program." Rebecca's eyes lit up with recognition. "Ms. Rodriguez, I've heard so much about your work with pediatric patients. It's such an honor to meet you." Maya smiled warmly. "I read your application essay about staying with the elderly patient during his final hours. That kind of compassion is exactly what makes an exceptional oncology nurse." They talked for several minutes about Rebecca's background and her goals for the fellowship. Maya was impressed by the young woman's thoughtfulness and dedication, and she could see the same spark of genuine caring that she remembered Thomas Chen recognizing in her years earlier. "I want you to know that if you ever need support or guidance during the fellowship, my door's always open," Maya offered. "This program can be challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding. The key is remembering why you're here and staying connected to your compassion for patients and families." Rebecca smiled gratefully. "Thank you so much. That means more than you know." As the day progressed, Maya reflected on how her role had evolved from fellowship recipient to mentor and leader. She thought about the ripple effect that had started with Thomas's kindness in that Phoenix diner and how it was continuing to spread through her work with new nurses and her service on the scholarship committee that evening. Maya joined Thomas for dinner at his apartment, a tradition they maintained several times a week. Sophia and Carlos were there as well, working on homework at the kitchen table while Maya and Thomas prepared the meal together. "How was the new fellow orientation today?" Thomas asked as he chopped vegetables for their salad. Maya described her meeting with Rebecca and her impressions of the new group of fellows. "There's something special about Rebecca. She reminds me of myself when I first arrived here. A little overwhelmed, but absolutely determined to make a difference." Thomas smiled knowingly. "I have a feeling she's going to be just fine with you as a mentor. You've become quite the teacher and leader, Maya. Elena would be amazed by what you've accomplished." As they sat down to dinner, Sophia looked up from her homework. "Mom, are you going to help the new nurse the way Grandpa Thomas helped us?" Maya considered her daughter's question. "I hope so, sweetheart. When someone shows kindness to you, the best way to honor that kindness is to pass it on to others who need help." Carlos, ever the practical one, added, "It's like a kindness chain reaction, right? One person helps another and then they help someone else and it keeps going forever." "Exactly right, Carlos," Thomas said with pride. "Your mother started a kindness chain reaction when she helped me at the diner, and now we get to watch it keep growing." Later that evening, after the children had gone to bed, Maya and Thomas sat on his balcony overlooking the Houston skyline. These quiet moments together had become precious to both of them, opportunities to reflect on their journey and plan for the future. "Thomas, I've been thinking about expanding the scholarship program," Maya said. "We're helping nursing students, which is wonderful. But I wonder if we could also support other healthcare workers, maybe medical assistants, social workers, or therapists who are trying to advance their careers." Thomas's eyes sparkled with interest. "Tell me more about what you're envisioning," Maya outlined her ideas for a broader program that would support various healthcare professionals from disadvantaged backgrounds who demonstrated both academic potential and genuine compassion for patients. She described partnerships with community colleges and technical schools, mentorship programs, and emergency funds for unexpected expenses. "I love it," Thomas said. "It's exactly what Elena would have wanted, creating opportunities for people who have the heart to help others, but might not have the resources to pursue their dreams." As they continued planning, Maya realized that her simple act of buying breakfast for a lonely stranger had indeed created the kind of ripple effect that Carlos had described. Thomas's life had been saved, leading to her family's transformation, which had resulted in her ability to help other nursing students, and now they were planning to help even more healthcare workers who could, in turn, help countless patients and families. "You know what I think about sometimes?" Maya said as the conversation wound down. "That morning at the diner, I almost didn't buy you that breakfast. I was worried about the money for Sophia's field trip. I'm so grateful that I listened to my heart instead of my fear." Thomas reached over and squeezed her hand. "Maya, that decision to follow your compassion changed both our lives immeasurably. It showed me that there was still goodness worth living for, and it set you on a path toward opportunities you never could have imagined. That's the power of a single act of kindness. You never know how far the ripples will spread." As Maya drove home that night, she thought about Rebecca Thompson and the other new fellows who were just beginning their journeys in oncology nursing. She thought about the scholarship recipients who would be starting nursing school in the fall, and the healthcare workers they would someday help through the expanded program she and Thomas were planning. Most of all, she thought about the profound truth that one moment of compassion, one simple decision to help another human being in need, could transform multiple lives and create a legacy that would continue for generations. The kindness chain reaction that had started in a modest diner in Phoenix was still growing, still spreading hope and opportunity to anyone willing to open their heart and extend their hand to others. Maya Rodriguez had learned that the most powerful force in the world wasn't money or influence or prestige. It was the simple human capacity for compassion and the willingness to act on that compassion, even when it required sacrifice. Everything else that had followed in her life had grown from that single seed of kindness, planted on an ordinary Tuesday morning when she chose to see a stranger's need and respond with love.